Thank you. Yeah, so who knows what this, does anybody know off the top of their head what this syntax is called and what should be going in here? Yeah. Right. There you go. In this section, how can we access the projects from this function, which is a React query call?
You can just do the data is loading error stuff.
Exactly. So React query returns an object that has the values of data is loading, is error, and error. So you can either do it like, and this is a special kind of syntax. This is called destructuring. But you could also do something like const query call equals use get all projects. And then how would you access data from query call? Yeah, exactly. Query call dot data, and you can see it automatically fills out. You can also, if you just do dot, you can see these are all of the values that React query returns to us for the state that it's managing. So is refetching, is stale, is success, all of these values are returned by React query, which is why React query is very powerful. Right. So we have data. What is data in this case? Yeah, exactly. It's all of our projects, what's returned to us from the back end. And from here, we're going to return, for our case, we're going to say a container from material. I think we can say full width based on this. No. That shouldn't matter. And here we're going to show our, also, what do we have to do first before that? What checks do we need to make so that we know that we actually got our projects?
Check if it's an error, like if the product's actually good.
Yes, exactly. So you can say if is error, we want to return what? Do we think? What would we want to return if we're given an error? Yeah, exactly. Do error page, and our error prop is just going to be error, and I think it expects a string. I could be wrong though. Oh no, it expects just the error. Simple. And then if is loading, what would we expect to return? Yes. Just like that. And also for TypeScript's sake, if with these two cases, I'm pretty sure it's an invariant that you're always going to have data after those checks, but TypeScript does not know that. So return. So this syntax, this is map. Who could tell me what map means? Yeah, it's a type of for loop where this collection or array is then transformed into an array of whatever you return. The individual elements are what are returned inside of your callback here. So what do we want to return for each project?
Card.
Exactly. So we want to return the project card where our project is this project. Just like that. I guess this is mad. Maybe this isn't the exact type. What type is this? It's not assignable to element. Ever. Also say like react.fc. There we go. I think either one is fine. I don't know. I think there's a slight nuance to what each one means, but it doesn't really matter, I don't think. Yeah. So now we have a container that iterates through all of our projects and displays a project card, whatever that project card is. We're gonna want to we can do some CSS to this to make it like display side by side and whatnot. And actually, I think we're gonna do that together. CSS is kind of the most trial and error part of web development, in my opinion. But the first thing we need to do is actually use this projects page, which if we go to our app and then our app app authenticated, we're going to add another route here. So I think Martin talked about this last time briefly, but you can define a new route where your path, what does path represent here, do we think? Yeah, the URL, and this is the URL on the front end. So we've been dealing in our routers with our URLs on our back end. These are the URLs on the front end. So if I'm a user and I navigate to your Launchpad website and I press a button or something and that button redirects me to /projects, we're going to want to show the projects page. So I don't believe that we've defined. Oh, we have defined it. Okay. So you can say routes.projects, and your component is just the React component that we want to display. So what would that be? Yes. All right, sweet. And I think we should be able to, if we go to Launchpad, log in, if we go to projects page, yeah, this is the actual one, and then we can delete this stuff from home. Return like a typography. Welcome to Launchpad or something, and then delete all this stuff. So now we go home. So we'll click on the Launchpad. We go to projects, and now we see our very terribly made projects card, which we're gonna fix later. All right. So what happens if we have multiple projects? Well, actually, we'll get to that later. We'll come back to that. We're gonna shift. Does everybody have this? Does everybody feel like any questions on what we just done? Yes.
Do you like the projects page?
This is, yeah. Everybody good? I feel it's kind of similar to what we did a few weeks ago, but just on its own dedicated page rather than on the home page. Okay. And you're going to do something. You're going to do pretty much the exact same thing, but just use your experience hooks and use your experience card there, or whatever you call it. I think I called it section or something. All right, sweet. We're going to shift gears and we're going to talk about forms, which is awesome. There's a forms of React. What's the point of a form, would you wonder? So right now, how are we getting our project? How is that being, like, where is that actually being created that we are retrieving from the backend? Yeah. So everybody remember that you manually created that prisma.project.create or your project services.create in your seed file. That's what's getting populated in the database right now. No user is entering that in. That's what we've defined as that. So in order to get that information, you can either have the users manually call your endpoints that are accepting the feedback, but you want to actually provide a UI for users to be able to enter in that information nicely without having to understand how your website actually works. So that's where forms come in. They obtain that information. They obtain the project title, the project description, You can upload the photos through it. And so it gives power to the developers so that it gives power to the users so that the developers do not have to do everything hard coded. And so how do forms work? This is an example. What does this picture show? Yeah, this is a very basic. I want to talk about this picture. This is a very basic form where we're using a use state. Does everybody remember what a use state is? No. So a use state is a built-in hook by React. You can see react.usestate. So if you're using a React project, then you natively have that built in. You don't need any other packages. And it's basically a way that React allows you to change data and have it automatically refresh what the user sees. So in this case, we're storing this object, first name, last name. And you know that we're doing that is because the initial value that you pass into a use state is the default value for it. And then every time you call set form data, it'll update whatever that initial value is. And here we have, well, it kind of cuts off, but this is kind of whenever a user enters something in, it's going to take this change and it's going to set form data to whatever the previous state was plus the target's name, which would be like first name, and then the target's value, which is B or whatever, if that makes sense. What we use is a package called React Hook Form, which kind of abstracts away the some of the very technical stuff behind the form, and it allows you to basically have access to some of these values like handle submit, register, set value, errors, and you know, what's the syntax again? I just said it. It's what we use for React query too. Yes, we're destructuring these values out of what use form returns. Yeah, so we just have to define what we want to do when we submit it, and we're going to get this data value, which is constructed right here, or it's defined right here. Can you tell me like what a type is? What does a type do, and what is this point in TypeScript? It also can be called an interface. They're kind of synonymous. They're slightly different, but no?
Like it defines the types of an object's properties.
Exactly. That is a very good way to put it. You're basically, it's not a class. You guys have structs, right? If you're in fundies. So you know how you say like a struct is a, and then it like, or has a, you know, A value, B value, C value, or whatever. This is basically what you're saying, is you're saying if you, this data value, which is an actual value, you can access properties off of it by data dot whatever, is going to have these values of form data. It's going to have a name, it's going to have an email, it's going to have a password. Yeah, and that is defined in the type there. And the use form knows that it's that type because you pass, what's it generify it? I mean, it is a, what do you specify that the data that is returned right here. I don't know what the exact word that I know is. But yeah, and then you're able to define these inputs and they get a name which correspond exactly to what the form data is. If that makes sense. Yeah. Oh, I guess we're just talking about this. So you define what data is going to be taken in through an interface like this. So if we go back to our first meeting, pretty much, where we're talking about teams, you define an interface, create team form input that has a team name, a head ID, a Slack ID, a description, and is finance team. This is actually an exact interface that we use in Finish Line right now. And I can show you. That might be cool to show. If I go to Finish Line and I go to admin tools and I go to user management, yeah, we see team name, Slack channel ID, head ID, description, and finance team. You see that? And that's going to be following exactly this interface. It's pretty cool. You can also define a schema to match the data, which follows this exactly, where you can use a package like yup to basically enforce that the values that are passed in through the form are the correct type and any other checks you want. So like if you have a email, you can add a custom, I think they actually have a built-in email verification, but you can also make like custom like character counts or whatever. You can do that front-end validation and give that feedback to the user directly without them having to submit it, have your backend throw an error, and then them having to fill out the form all over again. You can just, before they even submit it to the backend, you can check that on the front end. And then you can also create default values. Basically what you pass into the use state in the beginning, just whatever you want your default values to be. When you are, do I have anything else on this slide? No. When you are editing a project, what would you assume the default values for the edit form to be? Exactly. So what would this be? What would you expect this form to be? Like what type? A create or an edit form? Like a form that had these default values that you were filling out. It would be a create. Yeah. Because it's just empty. These are just, nobody's entered in anything. But when you edit the form, it's going to have the team.team name as the default values or the team.slack ID. Yeah. So this is how you define a form. And actually, I have some really cool, look at that. That's so awesome. This is how you define a very basic form with the schema that, so we have the type. This is the interface that we talked about. So way back here, we have our resolver is a yup resolver with the schema that we defined right here. Our default values are right here. That's what we're actually passing into use form. And then what are we receiving from use form? Who can tell me that? Based off of this function signature or call, function call. We pass in resolver and default values, and what do we receive? Yeah. Not quite. Create team form input is defining the type that the data will be. It's a little bit higher up. Yeah. Yeah. Handle, submit, control, form state, and reset are what we're getting. And how do we know that we're getting, or what is the syntax that is that? Yes, object destructuring. So yeah, you're gonna see that syntax everywhere. So handle submit gets passed into the form. Well, handle submit is received in from the form and is what is called when the form is submitted. So, oh, I know what I was saying when I said it gets passed in the form. You'll see what that means later. So you could pass in a wrapper or another callback as a parameter that expects the type of create team form input. So I think I have an example of that here. Yeah. So you pass, does it do it right here? No, it doesn't. But you can make like this on submit wrapper. Yeah, right here. You can make this on submit wrapper that when submit is pressed, handle submit calls on submit with the values from the form. This will make sense when we do it. But yeah. Control contains the information of the form values. So if you needed to access or watch like a specific value, you can do like control.name. It also gets passed into the controller component, which you'll see recently, along with the name to identify the value to change. Form state contains information. Typically what we use form state for is seeing if there are any errors that are thrown from our resolver. So if a value violates our schema, we'll be able to access that error that the schema throws through this form state. And then reset allows you to clear values from the form like after you submit. Resolver is the object that allows you to validate the inputs of the form. And then default values are the default values that the form will start with. So this is an example of using the form. You'll see this is kind of what I was talking about, where this is the controller. This is given to us from React to the form. So you have this controller value where you pass in the control, the name that this controller is going to be changing, and then you can pass in a render, which for our case is just a button, and it's a yes or no. And who can tell me where this controller is on the screen? Where is that controller being rendered? I can go back to it if people want me to go back to it. Is finance team, NER button, that dependent field.value is a Boolean because this is finance team and is finance team is a Boolean. We know that because of this. Is finance team is a Boolean. If that is piecing things together a little bit more. So where is that on this screen? Below the title? Where? Sorry? I can't hear you. Oh, the whole page? No, not quite. This is a specific element in this team form that is being rendered by this button. Yeah.
Is it the button that says finance team no?
Yes, that is right. That code is directly being displayed here. So that's how that works. All right. Who has questions before we jump into it?
You go back like one or two slides. Was the handle something? I don't remember.
The handle submit? Yeah.
Is that just like a more in-depth checking of the input?
So handle submit, it's typically used with handle submit is a function that if you were to call it, would supply you with the current values of the form, if that makes sense. So like, you know what, it might be easier to show you in code. It will take me too long to write it out. Well, I have an example here. Where is it? I think I went too far. I can't zoom in. Why is that? Wait, what? Okay. Oh, there we go. All right. You see how handle submit is being called here? Yeah. So it's just use form is giving us the ability to, or is giving us the control to determine when the form is actually going to be submitted. And so we're saying that when you press the submit button, the form is being submitted. And on submit is a function that takes in the data that is currently being stored in the control of the form. Does that make sense? It's kind of a little windy with the callbacks. Do people generally understand that flow?
Does handle submit return something?
Does handle submit return something? No, it's void. It returns void.
So when you say like on press handle submit and then you pass in on submit,
Yeah.
for instance, are you calling handle submit there? Or
Yeah.
what is it?
Yeah, this is kind of weird syntax. But yeah, it's a, yeah.
You are calling it there.
Oh.
Or is it gonna be called
No. It gets called when it gets pressed. Yeah, sorry. Yes. And you'll see that. it's kind of weird. It gets called like twice. I don't know. I can't think of an exact example off the top of my head of where we do that. But yeah. All right. We are going to be, well, for the sake of, all right, now I'm super zoomed in. We're going to be creating a project. All right, let's get to it. We're going to start with the form, and we're going to use this NER form modal, this form modal right here, this function. You guys should all have this. If you look in your component, is this too small? Is this better? Yeah. Also, get rid of this stuff. Yeah. We have this NER form modal, which takes in a whole bunch of these parameters and basically abstracts the NER modal and passes in whatever children we have. And we can see, yeah, we have a handle, use, form, submit, and an on submit wrapper. I think you can also do TypeScript. Please tell me if I'm wrong. You can also do this. But I think if you do that, then you have to do this as well. Can you? I think you could do both. I think because you can see it returns a function. Huh. On valid, on invalid. Interesting. That's a good question. That's a weird syntax. I don't know how they did that. But I think you can do either. All right. Yeah, we're gonna be using the NER form modal. So if you go to our projects page, actually, we're gonna make a new component. We're gonna say project create. We're gonna say project form.tsx. See, this is gonna be abstracted nicely between create and edit. Project form equals export default. Then you could say react.fc if you would like. Right. And we're going to start off with create, and then when we go to edit, we're going to abstract this. So first things first is, actually, I guess we can do that last. We're going to say const control, comma, handle submit, comma, form state. It's an error. I think it's errors. And then reset. Use form. Make sure to import it. We're going to leave that blank for now. Default values and schema. Well, this is going to be really upset with us. All right. First, we're going to define our interface for our project form input. This is going to have, what is this going to have? What do we need from the user? You want to answer? Martin, you can answer.
Title,
It does need title,
description,
description as well.
URL would be
URL would be
nice.
fantastic.
This goes to the image URLs.
And why don't we need any of the other things?
Those are handled well in the first one. So the creator that is a timestamp, and then the creator is done by the so the current user, which is the person logged in, is automatically passed in. I
Yes.
guess you can call that as well.
Yeah. When we get the current user, and also we know this, if you didn't want to look at this and you wanted to make sure, you can look at your routes and you can look at your project routes, and you can see that we need the title, the description, the URL, and the skills, and the images. Right? Yeah. Good. So now we can type this to be project input form, project form input, whatever. Also going to say const default values, title, description, URL, skills, image URLs are going to look like that. And then what's the last thing we need for the form? I can go back to the slides if that would be easier. What's the last thing we need? Sorry? Yeah, we need the resolver. So I said it wrong. Resolver. And the resolver needs a schema. Const schema. Title is a yup. Also, do this import star as yup from yup. It's the easiest way to do that. Yup dot string required. Also abstract those away if you really wanted to. Yeah, a yup required string. And then, oh no, we already have description. Skills, you say yup dot array, right? And then, ooh, who knows? Sean, you know the syntax for yup individual elements inside of an array?
I think it's like a dot of,
Dot of?
and then you can put schema in there.
Oh my goodness. Yup dot, oh, well. I don't know if it's, oh, there we go. Nicely done. Thank you, Sean. This is also not going to be image URLs. We're on the front end. This is going to be images. This is going to be of type file. Because we store the files on the front end when we upload them to the back end. And we're not going to validate that. I mean, you could say array, but I think it's fine. And then, yeah, this would be images, it's empty array. And now we can say yup resolver schema. Why are you? Oh, do I have to say, is this yup dot schema? What is it? Oh, yup dot object dot shape, right? How could I be so foolish? Do I need images? I probably misspelled something. Let me read it. Type skills or undefined. We want them to be undefined. Oh, wait, I thought I said required. Why is this text so big? Hmm. Oh, right. And then these, if you pass in an object to this, or like a string to this is the error message that gets returned. So like title is required and whatnot. I'm going to delete this for now. Just for the time being. We'll come back to that. And here we're going to return our NER form modal. And form modal requires handle use form submit, which is going to be handle submit. Ooh, we're going to need more things. We're going to need a lot more things. Control, I believe. No. Use form control? No. What is it? I guess it doesn't need it. Oh. Doesn't need reset. Okay. Reset. Oh, right, yeah. This is going to take in object with open. Whether or not the form is actually open, which is a Boolean. This is going to be told to us by when we press on something. Actually, sorry. Open. That might be all we need for now. Also need title. Let's just open. Create project. OnHide is not going to do anything right now. All right, taking a step back, we need to actually connect the result of this form to our backend so that it actually creates the project. How would you suspect that we should do that? How have we communicated with our backend from the front end previously? I'll give you a minute while I look for the cap of this pen. I can't find it. Oh, here it is. Yeah, hooks and what? What do the hooks call? APIs. Yeah, tag team. Exactly. So in our project.apis, we're going to start from here. We're going to say export. Oh my goodness. Export const create project equals async. Oh, what number? Also, everyone remember to import Axios from utils/Axios, not regular Axios. Okay. Otherwise, you will not be authenticated. This is a post request. It returns a project, and it's on urls.projects. Oh, actually, I think we have to define one. And then what URL do we need to ping? Who could tell me where to find what URL we need to ping? Project controller? Project routes. Look at you two. Yeah, the project routes. And it's on, yeah, it's on, make that more clear. It's on /new. So +/new. And now we can add create project, go back to our API and do urls.create project. And just like what we had before, return response.data. Although we don't necessarily have to do that, but we can. Now we need to make our hook. So, all right, am I going too fast?
You go back to
Feel good? Do I need to explain anything a little bit more of what this is, how this works?
how are we getting how are we passing in the data about the project to post requests?
That's actually a very good point, and I forgot. So we're actually going to take in a project here, which is going to be, or we can say project data, and it's going to be of type project form input, which means we need to, I'm going to quickly jump back because I forgot to export this. We're going to take in project form input here, and you can pass in the data as the second constant. And actually, do we have to JSON stringify it first? Or no? Oh, project data. Yeah, it's just a second parameter. And you can see that if you hover over post, URL, data, and then you can have a config. But the config we pipe in through the our Axios version. Yeah, no, thank you. I forgot that. All right, sweet. So next, we're going to create our hook that we're able to access from our components. Use create project. That is not going to take anything in there. And we're instead going to return, who knows? I wouldn't expect anybody to know what function we need to use. Yeah, no, we have to use a use mutation, which is from React Query. And what use mutation does, which is different from use query, I'm going to say returns a project or an error. What use mutation does is it returns a function that you are able to call in your code. So use query returns data. Use mutation returns a function that will then return data when that's done. So whenever you have like a form, you're going to want to, and actually we're going to throw in projects here, and we're going to see the glory of a React query in a few minutes. Actually, we might not have time, but we'll get close. And in here, we're going to return a function that takes in our project data, which is project form input. It's going to return await create project from our APIs with our project data. Oh, what did I do? What an awful error message. I think these types are different. I'm going to delete that for now. And then also, we're going to supply some options that on success, we're going to, forgive me, I forgot this part. Const query client equals use query client. So we're going to get our query client, which is a context that exists throughout your entire project or wherever you have defined your React query constant or context. So for us, it's defined in our app context. No, our app itself, I think. App context query. Yeah. So we see we get this app context query from, is something we define. We get our app context query, and in here we define a query client provider, which is given to us. I mean, you guys don't necessarily need to know exactly how this is working, but it's a context that's given to us by React Query, and whenever you're inside of the context, you're able to access that query client, which by doing that, on our successful mutation, we're going to, shit, this is not supposed to be an object. This is callback. On success, we're going to call query client dot invalidate queries, and the filters we're going to pass in is projects. So this is where React Query is very, very powerful, where we've defined this query here to get all projects. And we've supplied this query key of just a hard-coded string of projects. And we are now able to, whenever we create a project, invalidate that query, effectively telling React Query to refetch the data and display the new data to the user. This will be more apparent if we deleted this and then showed it. So we'll do that later. But what would happen is if you did not have this, is you would create a project and then you would just be shown the same projects before. You wouldn't see your newly created project. When you add this, however, we're going to refetch and include the newly created project in that fetch, which will then be displayed to the user. Yeah, and that is why React Query is very cool, I think. If I save, oh, it adds that for me. All right, sweet. Now we have our hook that we're going to say const mutate async. Ooh, mutate async and is loading equals use create project. And we don't pass anything in. This is really ugly. Why does this look like this? Oh, I just don't have enough space. You take async and is loading. We're also going to now have to add in our loading check. So if is loading, return loading indicator. And we're going to create our wrapper. So const on submit. And in here, we're going to get data, which is project form input. Now, if you guys look at the slides, you'll see where I'm getting this from. And in here, we're just going to do try. Oh, what's wrong? Oh, equal sign. Try await mutate async with our data like that. We're going to catch the error. And in here, we can do whatever we want with this error. This is also an async function. Here we can do whatever we want with this error. I think I have toast installed. Const toast equals use toast. I don't. But I think you can just do alert. Oh, what is the built-in React one? I can't remember. Do you remember? Oh, it's just alert. Okay. You don't have to import anything.
It's lowercase.
Yeah, I guess you just do lowercase alert. And you can just say error.message. Typically, we use in finish line, we use a package. Oh, this is of type unknown because of that stupid. T data is a project form. T error is a type error. And then what's the last thing? Is it also oh, right. This is project. Yeah, nice. Okay. So you're able to type the use mutation to define that you're going to be returning a project on success, returning an error on error, and I think this is taking in project input here. So I think if I say string here, then this is going to error. Yeah. It's saying that the value getting taken in by this function is of this type. Does that make sense? Okay, good. All right, sweet. Now we have this on submit. Bro, no way. That's crazy. All right, I guess you have to say say that. Otherwise, we're gonna do nothing. Damn, I didn't think you'd have to do that. Maybe you do. All right, now we can add our on form submit. Just be on submit. All right, now we get to build our actual form. So we're gonna wrap it all in a box. We're going to define a controller. Actually, we're going to wrap it all in a grid. Grid is a MUI component that, can you guess what a grid does? Yeah, kind of. It makes a table, but not a table that you can like visually see. It's like a table that aligns things. And you can have either a grid is either a container or an item or both. This grid is going to be a container, but now this grid is going to be an item. And you're allowed to define like how many columns or rows a particular item takes up in the container. By default, or I think in total, there's 12 rows or 12 columns in a grid container. And you can define how many of those columns an item will take up in terms of its width. So like, and you can also define that. It's super cool. You can define like when it's extra, when the screen is extra small, you can define it's going to take up the entire 12 rows. But when the item is like large, you can say that it's only going to take up 4 or something, and then put something else in the other 8. So it's really, really cool and really powerful. It's one of my favorite grid like layout managers in like front end development that I've used in terms of its intuitiveness. And here we need to give our control, which is our control, our name, which we're going to start with title. Is this going to autofill for me? No. Sometimes it autofills for you. And then our render. And our render is going to be a, do I have a NER text box or NER React hook form text box? No, L. It's just going to be a text box or text field. It's going to be a text field with like, you can add a placeholder. Placeholder is going to be like title or enter a title. And then the value is going to be in here. I think, let me refresh on the syntax. It's just field, and you can have field.value. Okay, so you get field. Oops. Can I please? You get field. Say field.value. I think you can also have on change. No. What is it? Oh, you do field.on change. Okay. So I guess you could do something like this where you have value and on change. So now I can just say value. On change, we're just going to call our on change here. Or actually, I think we want to call e.target.value, I think. Does this look good? I think this looks good. Yeah. So this is what is this? What is this doing here? You know, who can tell me what this is doing? I'm gonna add some other stuff like a form control, just like full width. Then wrap this entire thing in that. Similar to how this is done. Also add a form label. All sorts of cool things you can do with this package. What is it? Title? Yeah, title equals title. So now what is this doing? Would you take a guess as to what this is doing? What have you just written?
It makes a box to put a title in.
Yeah. And what happens when you enter in text into that box?
It changes it to a thing you're.
Sorry?
It changes it to a thing you're like putting in.
What is it?
The text, like enter a title to like whatever.
It does do that in terms of its like display, but like it's I think you're saying the right thing. It's setting the form's name or the form's title here, the form's title value to be whatever is inside the text box. Does everybody see how that is linked? You have a controller with the control from. Where do we get the control from? Where do we get the control from? Use form. Yes, we get the control from use form. I think you can also say error equals field say error equals errors dot title. Or oh, this is just not right. And then you can have like a form helper text. Yeah, like a form helper text where what is this taken? Oh, come on. I can't remember what it is, and it's not here. It takes in something where you can pass in the actual error value. I can't remember what it is, but yeah. All right, how much time do we have? All right, we're actually over time. But I can keep going if people want to, but also people can be free to leave if they would like to go. But I'll keep going until we're actually able to use the form, which is pretty cool, I think. All right, I'm seeing nods. I'm gonna keep going. People can leave if they'd like to leave, but I'm gonna keep going because I'm actually having a good time. All right, we got that title. We're gonna make another item. Again, like if it's extra small, we're gonna take up the entire width. We're gonna add a controller. Actually, what is easiest is to just take this entire thing, copy, and paste, and change the title. And whenever you do this, it screams abstraction, and we can get to that later. I'm of the opinion is you write it like completely first and then abstract it later. So yeah, you can have like title, but this time we want description. Title is description. Enter description. Then errors dot description. And then we can do this again for, what is it? What's next? URL. We actually do have an abstraction for this in a finish line. It's called React Hook Form Editable Text Field or something. It's pretty cool. Although it's very poorly written, I think. Oh, skills. This is so fun. Oh my goodness. Are we going to do this? All right. I think the tech leads should be able to, well, I'm going to include the tech leads in my questions now. We're going to do use field array. You guys know about that? Use field array? No, nobody's used use field array? Sean's used use field array. That's crazy. All right. So when you write a form that has multiple items, you could like write a text field and have it be like a comma separated value, but that's like terrible. Instead, what we're gonna do is use a package called use field array. There is no shot I remember the syntax to this. Oh, it's like append, comma, remove, comma, something else, equals use field array by React Hook Form. Props. All right, what's a value in props? Props and then ID. Oh, what is it? Control? Yes, control is one. Block scoped. Oh, I need to go down here. Is it just, do I just need control?
I think you need a name.
I know, I think I just put that here.
It goes in the same one.
Oh,
You like specify the name.
is it name or is it ID? It's name. Oh, it only wants, oh, that's right. Oh, this is so stupid. I forgot. You can only use field array with objects. And you guys will see that. Or arrays of objects. So since this is an array of strings, you can't do that. You have to do something like this, where skills, and then it's like, I don't know, name is a string. And now it's gonna let me do this, or it should theoretically give me, no? Why are you so upset? Is it because the default value is like that? But it should be. Oh, it's probably from the schema. It probably takes it from the schema if this is wrong. This is an array, yup dot object dot shape, and then name is a yup dot string. You're probably still mad, but you're probably gonna work now. Yes. See, it has to be an object, not just like a array of strings or whatever. And file works because file is an object. I don't know why, but yeah, it has to be that. And we could say like append is like append skills, or like remove is remove skills. And then I think there's one other thing that I need, but I can't remember what it is. Is it like field?
Yeah.
Fields or fields, yeah. And then this is skills. All right, or is this gonna get mad at me? This is probably, no, it's fine. Yeah. And now in here, we can, if I remember that, I haven't done this in so long. If I remember this, I'm gonna be ecstatic. We're gonna say skills. And then in here, we're gonna have to do some funky shenanigans. Oh, I'm not gonna remember this. You can say like dot app. Oh, it's optional. Why is it optional? I don't think I remember. I'm gonna need a cheat. I'm gonna need to check out finish line. Oh, this is so sad. React hook editable list. Oh, okay. So it is just, where's this used? Oh, and register, right? Yeah. Why do you need register? Oh, okay. Yes. We also need register. Is it not called register? I thought it was. Free register does not exist. Is it not called register by itself? Wait, we don't use it anywhere? That's kind of hilarious. We don't use it anywhere. That's too funny. Use form. Use field array. Oh, I abstracted it away. Oh, that's so sad. Okay, where's register from? Oh, you get register from the form. Okay. Register. It's not from this one. It's from this. All right. You don't put it in a controller. You instead just render it raw. So yeah. Let's make a grid. Grid's going to be a container. And we're going to say skills dot map skill and skill. What is this? It's going to be a grid, and it's going to be an item. Oops. It's going to be green. It's going to be an item, and we're going to add a NER button. Well, actually, we're not going to do that here. We're just going to add a typography that displays the skill. Skill dot value, skill dot name. And then in here, oh, we also need a NER button. Or actually, I'm gonna make an icon button. And I'm gonna throw in the delete icon. And whenever you press this, you need this, right, too? Whenever you press this on click, we're going to call the remove skill, whatever, skills with I. Oops. Does that make sense? All right. Who has questions? Including you guys. Does what I did just make sense?
Where do you define remove skills?
Remove skills is given to us from, that's why we need the use field array. It's the remove. Yeah.
Is this how we do description bullets?
This is how we do description
Okay,
bullets.
That makes sense.
So that's what I was looking at. Description bullets is abstracted behind this description bullets edit view. And look at that. That's exactly what we just did.
What was the register?
So you're going to see that in a second. Description bullets can get really complicated, though, with the way that we display them. So the register is going to be used when we add a value, I believe. I might be wrong. But we're going to make an NER button, whatever, NER success button that really doesn't require anything. It's going to be add skill, and then on click, we're going to add, what is it? What did I call it? Create skill or append skill. Ooh, do I need the, maybe I don't need the register for what I'm doing. What do we use the register here for? Oh, this is completely right. Oh, I'm just being right. So I mean, like, it's like you guys should be having a question right now. That is like, okay, you're displaying these values, but how do I actually add the value? So when you press this add skills button, actually, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a double whammy. This is just going to be a text field. And this is where we do the register. So you say register, and then you say skills dot, and you have to use a backtick here. Well, you don't have to, but this is the easiest way. Use a backtick, and you say I. Say placeholder is going to be return skill, and then the value is going to be skill.name. All right, this looks much better. So now you can actually enter in that value. And when you append a skill by default, or I think you just have to say, this is why it needs to be an object, I think. You can do that. All right, I actually really want to see if this works. I'm going to delete some of these things I didn't use and then go back. Oh, whatever. All right. Yeah. So can anybody tell me just by looking at this what they would expect to actually see? Including tech leads, you can also answer this question. Kyle? Yes, that's true. This will I meant to actually end this grid here and then make a new one. Oh, oh wait, no, I'm just lying. Okay, never mind. I did mean to do this. But I need to X, Y. No. All right, maybe they are. All right, I'm eager to see if this actually worked. So we're gonna quickly add a little NER button to our whatever, our projects page that on click. We're gonna also add a use state that determines if create form open. By default is not open. On click, we're going to set create form to be open. And then I guess it needs, wait, does this takes in a success text? What does this take in? Oh, it doesn't take in anything. So also need to say project. Just like that. And then here, we're going to add, I think we can just do project form with the way we've coded it. Say open equals create form open. You may have to conditionally do that, which would be kind of stupid if you did. But then, okay, we also need like an on hide, which is gonna just be, actually, yeah. We can pass that in here to our on hide. And this is what this is going to do is there's like an X button on the form. And whenever you press that, that function is going to be called. For us, though, what we just want that to do is set create form open to be false. If that makes sense. And now if I go here, chances this works first try, extremely low. Add project. Oh, I just forgot to supply anything. Boom! Look at that. That's pretty dope. That's pretty dope, I will say. No text on the buttons is also too lit. But yeah. There we go. Now there's an add skill. You can add it. All those skills, and you can delete them. Oh, that shouldn't happen. Interesting. But yeah, the last thing is images, which is kind of interesting. Also kind of weird. I don't know if I want to necessarily do that today. But it should be fine if I just, oh, there's still so much more. There's still so many small things that has to be done. It's so sad. What if I say test.com, test. I press submit and nothing happens.
You have to script.
Yeah, but nothing's happening is because this thing's freaking out. Like if you'll see if I right now it's empty, but if I press submit, oh, maybe not. Maybe there's no errors. I'm gonna have to do some debugging, but I don't know if I can do that this quickly, unfortunately. I assume that handle submit is just not being called. Handle submit on submit wrapper. What if I just don't do this? Oh, I'm gonna be upset. Yeah, I assume nothing is being called because our schema is see if I don't fill out anything, it's the same thing that happens. Something in our schema is failing is the issue, but I'll fix that. Thank you guys for staying late. I appreciate it, but we'll fix that next week.
So thanks.